Hey Flo, what's going on?
Well, it would actually help if you and I were on the same wavelength.
Dude, we are like this.
Hey everyone. We thought we would share some of my favorite cookbooks today. I've had a few viewers who have asked about the books that I have on the set, and yeah, I just thought I'd share some of my favorites. I learned how to cook in high school and also from watching my grandmother, but I never had to cook at home because my mom did all the cooking. It wasn't until I moved to Toronto in the 90s when I really had to step it up if I was going to live on more than just McDonald's. But back then, of course, there wasn't the internet. It was just in its infancy. So it wasn't like I could just Google something or watch how-to videos, but I was able to just watch TV. So I watched a lot of cooking shows, and I would sit there with my notepad and madly scribble down all the ingredients and instructions on how to make something. And it was okay because I had basic cooking and I understood measurements and different techniques. I also read a lot of cookbooks. Then I met Jude and found out that he was from Malaysia, and me trying to impress him, I picked up this Food of Malaysia cookbook. This describes all the how Malaysian recipes came about, being influenced by all the different people that lived in the country and immigrated there. And yeah, just way different techniques than what I was used to. Being Cantonese, my parents had a very simple way of cooking food, but Malaysians, they have so many different spices and ingredients that I've never even heard of. So I liked this particular one because there was I'm trying to find it, not only the different methods that they would use, but they also had a glossary of ingredients so that I could figure out what it was that I was buying to make some of these recipes. The funny thing in this story was that Dude didn't live in Toronto. I lived in Toronto, and he never actually got to experience any of my attempts at cooking Malaysian.
And I think it was only years later that she finally made me one of said Malaysian dishes. It could have been after we got married, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
it's possible.
Which is just full of irony. I'm not hurt at all.
When we lived in San Francisco, we actually ate out a lot. And so when this cookbook came out, everybody's San Francisco cookbook, it has a lot of recipes from some of our favorite restaurants in the cookbook. This is one of my favorites because of that. We were able to experience some of the same dishes at home. And they also have in this cookbook, not a lot of pictures, actually no pictures except for like hand-drawn pictures. They do have suggested menus, which is what I liked about it.
Is this where you cooked me those fiery prawns? Now, we don't know. These were some of our favorite restaurants that we checked out while we lived there. We have no idea whether they're still in business or not, but there was one particular restaurant which was...
It was...
What cuisine was it? Was it Caribbean?
It was one of those, I made it we loved it in the restaurant. So I tried to recreate it at home with the recipe that's in the book. And it was so on fire that there was no way that we could have eaten it. Awful.
Made by my new bride.
Then I discovered Nigella. Nigella Lawson is a British cook, and I just loved how she experienced her food. And so she has been a big influence on me in terms of just how I create recipes. And this is the first one that I have, but on my shelf I have about 3 or 4 Nigella cookbooks just because I like to collect cookbooks. I don't watch a lot. Actually, you know what? I don't even know if there are any cooking shows left on HGTV or any of those.
Or the Food Network.
Yeah, because I found that for a while there, they were just airing competitions and contests and that type of cooking show, but no like really how-tos. But when I was watching a lot of cooking shows, Nigella was one of my favorites. And so I do have several of her cookbooks. And another great influence on the way I cook is the Barefoot Contessa. And I also love the way she cooks because she doesn't skimp on anything. Everything is just made with like real butter, real cream, and I just really enjoy the flavors that she puts together. And so she also has been a big influence on the way I cook as well. And I love all of her cookbooks. I probably have at least 5 of them. I know she has some more. And I believe she's also filming a new cooking show. Now that we're back in Vancouver, we want to support some of our local chefs and restaurants that we love here. And one of my favorites is Quattro. If you want the solid Italian fine dining, this is the place to go. Unfortunately, he is just down to one restaurant and it's up at Whistler, which is a bit far for us to go. So the only time we can experience Quattro again is if I cook it at home. But one of the things I remember most about being at Quattro's is when this dish comes out of the kitchen. You're like, what is that? Well, he bakes spaghetti in this parchment paper and then he brings it out to the table and he opens it there and it is just delicious. And this cookbook also has some beautiful photos and it gives a history of how he came to Vancouver, how he started his restaurants and started running it with his son. And I love the personal stories that go with their cookbooks. Then we have Vitas. He is a local Indian cuisine chef. And some would say, oh, his is just fusion, it's not real Indian food. But whatever he has created, it's just delicious. And he's got local cooking classes that you can attend, and he is super friendly too. If you go to his restaurant, he's always out mingling with the guests and not just hiding in the kitchen.
It's just dang good.
It is so good. Another local favorite is Burgoo, and they serve comfort food like a lot of soups and stews and sandwiches. Their sandwiches are mostly grilled sandwiches with gooey cheese and meat. And it is just delicious, especially on a rainy day, which we get a lot of here. And as you can see, I have lots of post-it notes tagging the recipes that I like to make at home. But yeah, it's a really good little restaurant for comfort food. And they have some great photos in there as well, which also makes a cookbook for me. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little peek into what inspires me and the cookbooks and the cooks that have influenced my cooking. If you would like to check out those cookbooks, we're going to put the links down in the description below. And if you don't already, please subscribe to my channel, check out my cookbook and other videos over there. Till next time, be simple, ordinary, and joyful.